So could there actually be an account that is better and potentially more powerful than the Roth IRA? What if it has the same potential for growth and the same investment choices? And finally, what if you could contribute no matter what your income level, withdraw it without penalty, even before retirement, and it could give you an income tax deduction, reduce your FICA taxes, grow tax deferred, and potentially come out tax free? Too good to be true? Not so. And that's exactly what I'm going to prove to you today. So what we're talking about is the HSA, or Health Savings Account. I'm going to show you why the HSA may be even more powerful and more flexible than a Roth IRA. Now, we talk a lot on this channel about the best ways to save for retirement: 401ks, traditional IRAs, and of course, the Roth IRA. The Roth is famous for its powerful tax-free growth and tax-free withdrawals in retirement. The HSA offers just about everything the Roth does, plus a massive benefit on the front end and more flexibility. Think of the Roth IRA as the four-wheel drive of retirement accounts, but think of the HSA as the all-wheel drive version. Now, to understand the power of the HSA, you need to know about its triple tax advantage. This is what sets it apart from every other account. Think about a traditional 401k or an IRA. It's a double benefit. Money goes in tax-free, it grows tax-deferred, but you pay taxes when it comes out. And then think about the Roth IRA. That's also a double benefit. Money goes in after tax, but it grows tax-free and it comes out tax-free. The HSA, it hits the trifecta. Contributions are tax deductible. When you put the money in, it lowers your taxable income today, similar to the traditional IRA. And if you can contribute through payroll deduction, it saves you on both income taxes and FICA taxes, which is an additional 7.65%. The growth is also tax-free. The money you invest grows completely tax-sheltered from taxes on both capital gains or interest, just like a Roth. Withdrawals can also be tax-free. When you take the money out for qualified medical expenses, the withdrawal is 100% tax-free. That's right, tax break going in, tax-free growth, and tax-free coming out. That's the triple tax advantage that no other type of account offers. Now, there is a catch. To open and contribute to an HSA, you must be enrolled in a qualified High-Deductible Health Plan, or HDHP. This is a health insurance plan with a higher deductible, higher than traditional plans, and a lower monthly premium. The one big beautiful bill that was just passed earlier in 2025 also opened up the ability to contribute to an HSA for bronze and catastrophic plans on the ACA marketplace. But my recommendation is always make sure you check with the plan to make sure you're eligible to contribute to an HSA. This is often where people though stop and say, hey, wait, I don't want a high deductible plan. Here's the facts. Many people overpay for their medical plans to begin with. In fact, a significant portion of the population, roughly 1 in 8, has no healthcare spending in a given year. Approximately 2/3 or 66% of enrollees actually use healthcare services, but the vast majority of these will stop short of using their full deductible. Only a small fraction, less than 20%, actually incur enough expenses to zero out their full deductible amount each year. That means that over 80% of people don't ever spend up to their full deductible for the year. The key to using an HSA as a retirement tool is not to use it for current medical expenses if you can avoid it. Instead, treat it as a dedicated long-term investment vehicle. That means that you'll want to choose an HSA custodian that allows you to invest your funds in things like stocks and bonds and mutual funds, ETFs, just like an IRA. This is important because some HSA custodians only allow you to put the money into a savings or money market account, and that's not going to give you the growth you want for retirement. So you want the option to invest it, just like you would in a Roth IRA from dollar one. The important thing is that you pay your current medical bills out of regular cash flow and let the HSA money compound. So how much can you contribute to an HSA? Well, in 2026, individual contribution limits are $4,400. Family contribution limits are $8,750. Catch-up contributions, if you're age 55 or older, is $1,000 for each individual. So that's $2,000 if you're married and each have an HSA. There's a few important caveats in order to contribute. First, you can't be enrolled in Medicare. If you already have an HSA, you can still use it, but you just can't contribute more. Second, you can't be claimed as a dependent on someone else's tax return. And third, if you haven't enrolled in an HSA for a full calendar year, there's a proration calculation that you have to follow, which may limit the amount you can contribute that first year. So let's get into the direct comparison with a Roth IRA. Let's imagine you have a married couple who are both 55 years old, earning $260,000 a year, and they're enrolled in the same qualified high-deductible health plan. Now this couple, they wouldn't be able to contribute directly to a Roth IRA. They make too much, and based on their income, they would have been phased out of being able to make a contribution. But remember, there's no income limits to contributing to an HSA. So for 2026, this couple can put in a total of $10,750 between the two HSAs if they have one in each of their names. Or if they have one HSA, they can put in a total of $9,750 combined. But let's say this couple did put in the same amount into a Roth IRA, because let's say they did a backdoor Roth IRA. And if you don't know how that works, we've done videos on that strategy. But that money is coming from post-tax income. They already paid their 24% federal tax plus state tax plus FICA. So they're putting it in to the Roth with after-tax dollars. So the HSA gives them the tax deduction benefit for the tax year that they make the contribution, unlike the Roth, and the tax-free withdrawal benefit, which is the best feature of the Roth. It's a hybrid. It's like the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA had a perfect, beautiful financial baby. All right, if you don't like that analogy, remember the HSA is like the all-wheel drive version of the four-wheel drive Roth. Boy, that was a mouthful. So I think in many cases, the HSA is a little bit better than a Roth, in my opinion, because of the initial tax deduction. I'm going to show you 3 truly powerful scenarios. But before I do, what types of expenses can the HSA pay for? In other words, what receipts should you be saving in order to get those tax-free withdrawals? I highly recommend you read IRS Publication 969. But what expenses actually qualify? Well, the definitive guide for these expenses is IRS Publication 502. And here's just some of the items you'll find in that IRS publication that you can get reimbursed for out of your HSA. So deductibles, co-pays, co-insurance for your high-deductible health plan or any other health plan. Fees for doctors, surgeons, dentists, chiropractors, hospital services, both inpatient and outpatient, and laboratory fees. Treatments like physical therapy, chiropractic care, and acupuncture. Emergency services, prescription medicines, over-the-counter medicines like ibuprofen or Tylenol, allergy pills, cold and flu remedies, prescription eyeglasses, contact lenses, dental cleanings, blood pressure monitors, glucose meters, hearing aids, transportation, qualified long-term care, home modifications, and first aid kits. Now, it is important to note, expenses for general health improvement like gym memberships and fitness trackers, non-prescription vitamins or supplements are not qualified unless a doctor provides a letter of medical necessity called an LMN, stating that it's a specific medical condition that it's treating. The IRS has confirmed that there's no time limit on when the distribution must occur relative to the date the expense was incurred. That's IRS Notice 2004-50 Q&A 39. Again, you can save up receipts for qualified medical expenses incurred over multiple years and take a lump sum distribution from your HSA, entirely tax-free and penalty-free at any time, even before age 59 and a half. This means you can pay for a qualified medical expense out of your pocket today, let the money contributed in your HSA grow tax-free for 10, 20, or 30 years, and then reimburse yourself for that expense. Here's the key rules and requirements that make this strategy possible. Number 1, the HSA had to have been established before the reimbursable expense. In other words, the medical expense must have been incurred after you open the HSA. So it's generally considered established when the trust or custodial agreement is signed and the first contribution is made. Number 2, the expense must be for a qualified medical, dental, or vision expense as defined by IRS Publication 502 that I just gave examples from a couple of minutes ago. So number 3, the expense must not have been reimbursed from any other source, like your insurance plan, an FSA, or an HRA. And 4th, the expense must not have been previously claimed as an itemized deduction on any tax return. So let's get to the strategies. Strategy number 1, before retirement. Before age 65, if you use HSA money for a non-qualified expense, you pay ordinary income tax plus a steep 20% penalty. Now this penalty is what keeps it focused on medical expenses. But remember, I talked about paying for your medical expenses from your cash flow, not from your HSA. So if you need to tap the HSA before retirement, just add up all those qualified medical expenses you paid out of pocket since you opened the HSA and withdraw up to that amount from your HSA tax-free. Strategy number 2, what happens when you turn 65? Well, this is where the HSA starts to become even more flexible. At age 65, that 20% penalty, it disappears. So think of it like this. Once you turn 65, the HSA suddenly functions exactly like a traditional 401k or traditional IRA for non-medical expenses. So let's say you take a withdrawal for non-medical reasons, like to buy a new boat. In other words, you don't have any current medical expenses to pay for, or you don't have any saved up receipts from past medical expenses. Then the money's going to come out and you're going to pay ordinary income tax. But in reality, let's think about it. In retirement, are your healthcare costs going to increase or decrease? They're probably going to increase, right? So you can continue to make tax-free withdrawals each year to cover your expenses, including long-term care expenses and long-term care premiums in retirement. So for many retirees in this situation, it will work mainly like a traditional IRA for non-medical expenses and like a supercharged Roth IRA for medical expenses. But here's the ultimate strategy. Imagine you open your HSA 30 years ago. Over those 3 decades, you paid $50,000 in out-of-pocket expenses, including copays, deductibles, prescriptions, over-the-counter medicines, dental procedures, all that. All with money from your checking account, and you diligently saved all those receipts. Now you're age 65, your HSA balance, thanks to 30 years of compounding, is $300,000. So you now have $50,000 worth of old receipts from previous years, and now you can withdraw $50,000 in cash, entirely tax-free, penalty-free, and not subject to income tax. That's just like Roth IRA money. And the remaining $250,000, you can save that for future medical expenses, including Medicare premiums, tax-free, or you can even use it for that new boat paying tax just like a traditional IRA. This strategy, pay for medical bills now, save the receipts, invest in the HSA, and reimburse yourself decades later, is the ultimate long game. How should you use this information to create your ultimate strategy? Well, although I would recommend looking into working with a financial planner, here's the general hierarchy that many financial planners will often recommend for tax-advantaged savings. First, if your employer offers retirement savings match or contribution through something like a 401k or a simple IRA or a SEP IRA, take the match or the additional contribution. That's free money. Second, make at least some contribution to the HSA. You don't have to max it out, but if you qualify, consider prioritizing your HSA contribution. This triple tax advantage is just way too powerful to ignore. It's one of the most versatile accounts you'll own. Third, max out your Roth IRA or Roth 401k or traditional 401k. I know that many of you will disagree and say, no, you should always contribute to your Roth IRA first. And that's okay. I mean, everyone can and should have their own opinion on their own retirement plan. And look, maybe it's a toss-up in some cases, but I think that the flexibility and the potential of the HSA is really unmatched and you shouldn't ignore it. Now, if you don't have enough money to fully fund both, what should you do? Well, to me personally, I'd split it up somehow, maybe 50-50 or whatever percentage split floats your boat. The HSA is designed to solve a huge problem in retirement, healthcare costs. By making it one of your primary long-term investment vehicles, you're funding or you're helping to fund what is almost guaranteed to be one of your single largest non-discretionary expenses in your later years, healthcare. So the health savings account is an incredibly powerful yet often misunderstood financial tool. Stop viewing it as a simple checking account for your copays. Start viewing it as the best retirement account you don't have. I really appreciate you listening and hanging out with me for this topic. And if you have any questions or you want to tell us what your thoughts are on the HSA, be sure to put them in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and see you at the next video.